Okay, so now I think you can see my screen, and the story is here, as you can see, page 59 in our collection of or the booklet that you have. It's a story. You can see the title here by the writer is Jack London. He's an American novelist, short story writer. Jack London, and he was born, you can see there, 1876, died 1916. Really, he died quite young, if you like, in a sense, really. He gave us really an important genre, if you like. For some people would call him maybe one of the big practitioners of what is called the sea fiction, which is called the sea fiction, to do with the sea and nature, really more to do with nature. But the story here we have is nothing to do with the sea. It's to do with something maybe as harsh as the sea, which is really the snow and the freezing cold. This short story, Boys and Girls, really is about determination. Again, is about really stubbornness. When you are single-minded and you want to do something and you say, I can do it, I am a man, I can do it. Well, yeah. But it seems here at the end of the day, the character here we have in the story was not a man enough. He was not a man enough, you know, to face dangers and to face nature and to face snow and to be killed to be killed by the freezing cold and the snow, really. And the title you can see here, To Build a Fire, you know, is quite symbolical, really, is easy for us. Here we have a man who is traveling abroad, or I mean outside in the wild, or in the wilderness, in nature, in a forest, or in a desert, or anywhere. And he went on his own. And he challenged, you know, life, and he went out on his own. And when he needed to build a fire, he could not build a fire. Or he built a fire first, and then the fire was put off or was put dead, you know, because of his ignorance, because he was not able to build a fire. And if he was able really to build a fire, he would have saved his life. He would have saved his neck and not killed by the freezing cold. This man, we don't know his name. We are not given here his name. The narrator is talking about him, and we see how this man is so adamant, so stubborn, so crazy, so mad, so weird, so strange, so arrogant, really arrogant. Arrogant, he said, I can do it. I am a man. Well, he went out in a journey to meet his friends on the other side of the creek. Here, there's the story really is simple. A man traveled out, taking his dog with him, and even his dog would not like to go. His dog did not want to go. And really the story focuses more on the dog, in a way, because the story tells us that the dog was wiser and more intelligent and more knowledgeable than the man. Notice here we see that instincts, and really nature wins here. Instincts and nature wins here. Is not the man's sort of saying, I am a man and I have a mind to think and I have a mind to use, and so on. But it seems here the story is saying to us, this man, his wisdom did not work. His wisdom failed him because he was arrogant. He was arrogant and snobbish and so cocky. Whereas the dog has no mind, we say. You know, we human beings think that animals have no brains. We think that animals have no brains. They don't think. Well, I think they do. Because here, in this story, the dog knew what's going on and knew how to save himself. The dog, nature, instinct win at the end. Unlike us humans who think we are wise, who think we know, who think we are gifted by God, and so on and so forth, but we are arrogant. And this arrogance really killed the man, killed him. That's the story, really. That's the story. At the end of the day, he went out there and he faced a lot of problems, a lot of difficulties walking in the middle of the snow, 1 meter deep snow. Everything is frozen, everything absolutely frozen. So he had his body frozen. Everything got frozen in his hands, his feet, his eyes, everything. Then step by step, and when he started the fire, he started a fire under a tree, which is stupid. You should never build a fire under a tree, because first, it's dangerous. You could start a big fire in a forest if you start a fire under a tree. And here, the tree was heavily loaded with snow. And when his fire started up a little bit, one branch of the tree, fell, and a whole lump of snow fell over him, and it killed the fire in one blow, in one, second. The whole fire died out by the huge lump of snow falling from above him, from the tree. Crazy, stupid, not thinking that maybe this snow will fall over you and will kill your fire. He started again and again and again and again, and tried to start the fire. He could not. He could not build a fire again. And he thought he would go on and then maybe he would reach, but of course it was too difficult for him. His body started to ache, his hands, his feet, he can't feel them anymore. So he got really, at the end, he got killed. And the funny thing, really, the story here dramatizes this action of death, how he died and so on, dramatizes how he wanted to kill his dog. Look at the stupidity of man here. How this man thought maybe if he can kill his dog, he can warm his hands in the body of the dog. Because he heard a story that one man once, a story that somebody in a desert was traveling with his camel or with his horse or with whatever. So he killed his horse or his camel and he hid inside its body. And then he was saved from the cold because he got warmed up by the body of the animal. So here he thought that he would kill his dog and then warm his hands, at least his hands, in the body of the dog. And the funny thing is, and the tragic thing is, the dog knew that the man wanted to kill him. So the dog ran away. So that means the dog knew the crazy thing that the man is thinking of. And the dog ran away. And then, finally, he gave up because the dog would not let him kill him. Well, first I'm saying because the man is so weak because of the cold, because of the freezing, absolutely freezing, horrible cold. So he gave up the idea because he couldn't catch the dog and he couldn't kill him. So he went on then, and then after a while he stumbled and he fell, and the dog felt sorry for him, and he said, okay, I think that's it. I'm not going to be able to do it anymore. So he said, okay, let me die courageously. Let me face my death, like a man. MashaAllah. Yeah, MashaAllah. He sat there and the dog was looking at him and the dog was amazed. He said, what's wrong with this man? Why isn't he starting a fire? The dog knew, and the story tells us, the dog was whining and, like if making, yelling and saying, come on, as if to say, come on, build a fire. We need fire. Of course, the man could not, because the man was dying, and the man died. And the story really ends with the death of the man saying, I can face death courageously, like a normal, courageous man. But he's a stupid man. He did not use his mind. The story is saying to us, instinct and nature, and primitivism, really primitivism maybe, here we can say, win at the end of the day. The dog ran away to the people to whom he was going to, right? The man originally was going to see his friends. So the man, after when the dog really made sure, completely sure that his owner, the man, has died, and he started sniffing him, sniffing around to see, and he could smell the smell of death. So that's why the dog ran away quickly, to where he could find food, and where he could find shelter, and where he could find fire and warmth. And this is what I mean, that how the dog, was wiser, far, far, far wiser than the man. And that's the end of the story. Yeah, you can see, to build a fire, you can have life. You can't build a fire, you'll die. Yeah. The story also tells us really a lot of other things. Like, you should never travel on your own. Never, ever travel on your own, especially if you are a foreigner. If you are a foreigner to a place, you should never travel on your own. Never. Here, this man was told, don't leave on your own. You should have a friend with you, somebody to help in case you need help. And here, our friend needed help, and he had nobody except the dog. The dog was not enough. The dog is good. The dog is good, but is not enough. The dog can't work and do things like what man can. So here the story tells us one big issue here. Don't ever challenge nature and challenge fire or challenge water or challenge a river or anything. Or challenge the sea on your own. You will be killed. You will be killed. And we have real examples everywhere in the world. Even sometimes when you have people, sometimes if you challenge nature, you could get yourself killed, because nature is more powerful. The story is saying nature is more powerful than man. Yeah. And really, this is the lovely story here. It's about naturalism. It's about determinism. It's about fatalism. It's about life and death. It's about challenges and the failures of human beings and the failures of our really stubborn, crazy mind, if we think we have minds enough. Yeah? You following, boys, girls? Hello?
Yes, we are.
You are back to sleep again? Back in bed? Please wake up. Yeah. Any comments? Any question? No comments? Hello? Have you read the story? Hello? Have you read the story?
Not yet.
Anybody read it? Well, it seems It seems you are not really in the mood to speak or to say anything. I don't know what's wrong with you. Maybe you're still tired or asleep, or maybe you're not in the mood to talk. Yeah, I understand. I really understand. But sometimes I feel that I'm talking to myself and I don't like it. When I speak, when I feel that I need people to react, and where are you? No reaction. Yeah. Okay, so let me go back to my story. Yeah, here you can see the narrator. As I said, the whole narrative is spoken by a third-person narrator. The introduction here, you can see how the man introduces, or the narrator introduces the man to us as he's a strange man to the area. And the question here really, you can see the real description in a lovely, absolutely lovely narrative, the lovely language here. Jack London is a great writer. Here you can see the narrative. Day had broken cold and gray, exceedingly cold and gray. You know, look at the repetition here. You know, to say how the atmosphere is depicted. When the man turned aside from the main Yukon Trail and climbed the high earth bank, where a dim and little traveled trail led eastward through the vast spruce timberland. It was a steep bank, and he paused for breath at the top, excusing the actor to himself by looking at his watch. It was 9 o'clock. So here we see the introduction of the story, a man traveling on his own next to a creek or like near a river. And he called the trail here, the Yukon Trail, which is like a road, really. A trail is like a road where you walk by. It's a trail in the wilderness, like in a mountain, or it's used only by people or animals. It's not sort of a real road or man-made road. It's not man-made road. It's natural road, and they call it trail. You know, and here the name Yukon, of course, one of those old Indian names, referring here to the naturalness there. And you said little traveled trail, meaning people not much really, they travel on such road, you know, because sometimes it's dangerous, especially in winter time like here. He said a spruce timberland means a forest, like a huge forest. And you can see again steep bank, you know, next to a river, right? There was no sun, nor hint of sun, though there was not a cloud in the sky. So notice here the idea. And sometimes, you know, you could see that sometimes in the northern areas of Canada, for example, in the northern parts of the hemisphere, you know, of the globe, sometimes you have days and days without the sun. You know, you have even months without the sun. You don't see the sun. Yeah, it's funny, really. Well, it's not funny, but it's really nature. Yeah. So this is the idea. He's saying that there is no sun, and there's no sign of sun, although it's day, you know. Though there was not a cloud in the sky, you know, it was a clear day, and yet there seemed an intangible pall over the face of things, a subtle gloom that made the day dark, and that was due to the absence of sun. This fact didn't worry the man. He was used to the lack of sun. It had been days since he had seen the sun, and he knew that a few more days must pass before that cheerful old due south would just peep above the skyline and dip immediately from view. This is it. So he's very far north, where there's no sun at the moment, because as you can see, the weather is so strong and cold and wintry and so on. Anyway, so you can see here the emphasis of the powerful nature. No sun, and notice the dark and the days, and the idea of the lack of sun, and the worries, and the question here that how much they really need the sun and the warmth of the sun, in contrast to the terrible cold, the terrible snow. The man flung back along the way he had come. Sorry, flung a look back. Again, look at the narrator. As I said, you can see the narrator always telling us about the man. And we don't know the name of this man. We are never given his name. As I said, just because symbolically speaking, it's a symbolical thing not to know his name. We don't need even to know his name. Any man is this man, can be this man. So here we can see here, as I say, really the challenge that this man thinks that he can have. The Yukon lay a mile wide and hidden under 3 feet, 3 feet of ice. Yeah, 3 feet. Yeah, let me do something here. Yeah, what really the idea here is really the importance, if you like, of the point is that the emphasis on, or the challenge, and if you like, maybe the writers, to some extent, people may think and may say it's really an exaggerated thing. The exaggeration, 90 centimeters of snow, 3 feet means about more than 90, nearly a meter deep of snow, and a man traveling in such a situation, would be crazy. It's absolutely crazy to do that. How can you travel on a road with snow as deep as a meter, for God's sake? A meter? Yeah. So you can see here, he said it's 3 feet of ice. On top of this ice were as many feet of snow again. Not just the snow, but we say here even the bottom layer it was all pure white, rolling in gentle undulations where the ice jams of the freeze uphand foam, north and south. As far as his eye could see, it was unbroken white, save for a dark hairline that curved and twisted from around the spruce-covered island to the south, and that curved and twisted away into the north, where that led south for 100 miles to the Chilcot Pass, and so on. You can go on and go on. It's the description, as you can see, it's really very graphic and very amazing. When you say, "Where are you going, man? Come back. This is not the time. This is horrible time to travel. Go back." Well, This is the story saying no. But all this, the mysterious far-reaching hairline trail, the absence of sun from the sky, the tremendous cold, and the strangeness and weirdness of it all. Yeah. Really, this is the emphasis here. As you can see, I have highlighted this. You know, the strangeness and weirdness of it all. Well, then why should you challenge this weirdness? Notice, made no impression on the man. It was not because he was long used to it. He was a newcomer to the land, a newcomer. Well, then if you're a stranger to an area, why should you challenge this area? You know, when you are a stranger to any area, you should never challenge things in that area because you don't know. This was his first winter. The trouble with him was that he was without imagination. And I think this is the meaning, was one of the main themes of the story. He has no imagination. What does it mean? Well, he does not think enough beyond his own stupid eyes or stupid, narrow-mindedness, really. He should have an imagination. Yeah, absolutely. He was quick and alert in the things of life, but only in the things and not in the significances. And I think this is again very, very, very good. That you don't really it's not a matter of only looking, at things as they are. You should look at the things beyond the things. You should read beyond the lines. You should think about things outside the word or outside the real thing. You should think about it. You should have your own imagination. Yeah, you should be able to read beyond what you see immediately. And that's the idea here about the significances. 50 degrees below zero meant 80 odd degrees of frost. Such fact impressed him as being cold and uncomfortable, and that was all. It did not lead him to immediate upon his frailty. Lead him to meditate upon his frailty as a creature of temperature, and upon man's frailty in general. And again, I think this is the very good word here. Frailty means, yeah, we are limited. We are people. We are weak. We are not super. We are frail. We are weak. We have weaknesses. Absolutely. So you should know that your body, your mind, your whole entity is limited. Limited. We are limited. We are not superpower, super powerful, I should say, and that's the idea here about frailty, able only to live within certain narrow limits of heat and cold. Yeah, I think this is true. We know we people can live in a certain environmental condition. Yeah. And really here, this is the idea that the story is saying. As I told you, there are so many important questions here about it, and I think these are the main, if you like, or part of the main meanings and ideas that the story is telling us a lot. And you can see more and more of this, the narrator telling us all the time how this man decided to leave, decided to go, despite, as I said, despite the terrible, absolutely miserable weather, but he would never, he would never change his mind, thinking that he is such a super, really powerful man when he's not. So the next, you can see here in this next page, the narrator introduces to us the dog. In contrast to him, you can see here at the bottom of page 60. At the man's heels trotted a dog, a big native husky, a proper wolf dog, gray-coated and without any visible or temperamental difference from its brother, the wild wolf. The animal was depressed by the cold. It knew it was no time for traveling. Its instincts told it a truer story or a truer tale than was told to the man by the man's judgment. You see, this is, the narrator is, exaggerating this to say that the man did not know exactly, by looking at this weather, couldn't read beyond the lines to say, well, this is a terrible time to travel. You should not travel at this time. So that's why here we say the dog knew that this is really a horrible time to travel. Unlike the man. Yeah, I mean, this is really the idea. And again, here we said, its instincts. Its instinct. Yeah, and I think this is a very important thing. Yeah, one must use his or her instinct. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes what is your instinct saying is the true thing. Yeah, what do you really feel? What do you really feel about something? And really here you can see, in reality, it was not merely colder than 50 degrees, than 50 below zero. It was colder than 60 below, than 70 below. It was 75 below zero. Since the freezing point is 32 above zero, it meant that 170 degrees of frost obtained. The dog did not know anything about thermostats or thermometers. Yeah, absolutely. The dog didn't know about thermometers. Yeah. Yeah, we know, but we don't manage. Yeah, possibly in its brain there was no sharp consciousness of a condition of very cold, such as was in the man's brain. But the brute had its instinct. Yeah, this dog has instinct, so he doesn't really need, as we say, sharp, if you like, consciousness about, or let's say, man's brain. It experienced a vague but menacing apprehension that subdued it and made it slink at the man's heels, and so on. So the idea that the dog really did not think at all, or did not really want, because we are not saying that the dog can think here, or the narrator is saying, or the man at least is saying, or people sometimes think that dogs have no brains, so they don't think. I don't think so. Notice. As if expecting him to go into camp or to seek shelter somewhere and build a fire. The dog had learned fire. The dog had learned fire, and it wanted fire, or else to burrow under the snow and cuddle its warmth away from the ice or from the air, because the air is absolutely freezing. So the dog saying, or as if to say, the dog is saying, where are you going? This is a horrible time to go. Stay home. Right? But of course, this is really the story here. The dog dropped in again at his heels with a tail drooping discouragement as the man swung along the creek bed the furrow of the old sled trail was plainly visible. And again, I think you can see more and more of this description, more of this absolutely lovely, lovely description of the travel. And the idea here, we know that the man had nobody to talk to. He had no one to talk to, right? Notice there was nobody to talk to, and had there been, speech would have been impossibly because of the ice muzzle on his mouth. So he continued monotonously to chew tobacco and to increase the length of his umbered beard. Anyway, the story really is quite interesting, and please read the whole thing yourselves, because next class I'm going to finish it all together. I will leave it for you now because you have not read the story. I want you to read the story for next time. Please read it for next time, and then as you can see, the highlighting, I made some highlighting there, which is really important thing to focus on and to understand. Okay, as you can see there, yeah.
Doctor?
Yeah?
I want to ask about something.
Yeah?
Some people tend to see everything in literature as